Good evening to you and welcome to News 360. We are live from the News Hub at Adisawe, Kanda. I'm Natalie Fort.
And my name is Alfred Ocansey. Coming up in the Bulletin tonight.
And the headlines this evening: Food and Drugs Authority destroys more than 1,000 cartons of unregistered canned fish, also known as Asahi mackerel.
Also, tension at Bimbela in the northern region following the burial of the late Nakpana Salifu Dawuni. The Gumayi family had vowed to resist his burial, which was scheduled for Thursday, October 12th. And
also ahead this evening, waning reverence for Ghana's national anthem. We find out why.
Also in business this evening, Ghana Trade Fair Company to undergo major redevelopment within 3 years.
And elsewhere on the continent, Kenya's High Court rules to allow all candidates who participated in the 8th August presidential election to run again. We've got the details of these stories for you here on News 360, including the latest from the world of sports and entertainment. Remember, this bulletin is streaming live all across the world on 3news.com and TV3 Ghana on Facebook.
Okay, so stay with us here on News 360. Our first story this evening: more than 170 households and schools as far as 1.5 kilometers, including the Presbyterian Boys Secondary School, were affected by last Saturday's explosion. The National Disaster Management Organization says it is still assessing the extent of damage caused by the disaster.
It's been days after the unfortunate gas explosion here at the Atomic Junction in Accra. The fire is over, but indeed, all is not over here yet. People who were affected are still counting their loss in terms of their property that have been damaged. There is an emergency unit set up here being manned by NADMO and some officials of the Ghana Police Service and other security agencies. People are still trooping in to report of things that they have lost as a result of the incident.
We send teams around to the various areas and the various roads, and then those at the back here. That one also recorded about 178 thereabout. And even the figures, for example, with the ones that we did within the homes and the Legon hostels as well. Presec School, for example, what we had, the teachers have asked that we should come back this morning. They're going to call the students and everybody and make sure that we can get correct figures.
Presec was also affected in the process.
Of course, the heat went that far.
The school is, however, yet to submit the total extent of damage to NADMO officials. TV3's visit to the Legon Presec School revealed the 2 visual arts class and 2A3 on Block E have louver blades broken, with some lighting systems also damaged. Zoomlion is cleaning up the site to ensure officials get access for proper assessment.
The only access to do, make sure that we clean the debris and the rubber bags and those things, leaving all the other bends for identification and further investigation. So that's exactly what we're doing.
How much is it costing to do this cleanup?
We're doing it as part of our corporate social responsibility as at now. So the cost is borne by Zoomlion.
Meanwhile, NADMO has received medical consumables worth over 100,000 cedis from Tobinco Pharmaceuticals. East Cantonment Pharmacy also donated over 27,000 cedis worth of drugs.
Apart from those who have been treated and who are going, there are some who report still to the hospitals. So they need the things for the bends, the paracetamols or whatever for the pain relievers, and then the infection and all of that.
NADMO is making arrangements to provide counseling sessions for the affected persons to deal with possible post-traumatic impact.
We'll certainly bring you more on the findings there subsequently. But away from that, the Food and Drugs Authority has destroyed more than 1,000 cartons of the unregistered canned fish Asahi mackerel. The exercise was carried out on the premises of the Mile 7 District Police Station in Accra. Solis Rose Korte has more.
The exercise, which was carried out under the strict supervision of officials from the FDA, Zoomlion and the police, was delayed. The young men contracted to offload the containers seemed to ponder over whether or not the work at hand was worth it. The pungent stench emanating from the cargo was nauseating.
Now, as you can see, I'm struggling to put on this mask. It's not a very easy thing standing close to this container. As the three people would say, and so I'm going to like to speak with the PRO of the FDA to basically go through with us exactly the process and exactly what will happen at the end of the day.
This is a crusher.
Okay.
So whilst they put the stuff in it, it's being crushed. When it's full, they'll go and dump it, come back, and a new set will be put inside. Okay. Already one was done yesterday. So now we are left with 2 containers to do, and that's what is being done now. Yes, if they don't finish today, they'll continue tomorrow.
Each 20-footer container carried 1,500 cartons of contaminated mackerel. In all, 34.8 metric tons of mackerel was scheduled for destruction. Maria Abba Lovelace Johnson is the head of Food Enforcement Department at the FDA.
The Food and Drugs Authority ensures that it goes everywhere that products are going to be imported into the country. If you are going to bring in canned fish, you are going to bring in canned tomatoes, we ensure that we go there and look at the situation there, look at the processes you have in place. We audit your system to see to it that you will not have such problems.
In a press statement released earlier, the FDA cautioned the general public against the patronage or consumption of Asahi mackerel and So Nice mackerel. The importer, identified as Kofi Dochi of Dochisco Ventures, declined commenting on the issue, stating simply he did not want to interfere in an ongoing police investigation. The FDA has advised consumers to be vigilant and to immediately report any suspicious products on the market.
So, more than 200 students from 5 agricultural training institutions picketed at the Ministry of Food and Agriculture to demand immediate restoration of the allowances. Their action comes a day after government restored allowances of trainee nurses and midwives.
The Wednesday morning's picketing at the Ministry of Food and Agriculture started at about 7:30 to press home restoration of their allowances, which was cancelled in 2015. The aggrieved agricultural students are from the Kwadasu Agri College, Uhawu Agri College, Damango Agri College, Ejura Agri College, and the Animal Health and Production College. The student body says it has followed the necessary procedures by engaging authorities to restore the allowance, but to no avail. Their allowance was cancelled at the time the allowances of trainee teachers and nurses were cancelled. President Akufo-Addo on October 10 restored nurses and midwives allowance, excluding a Greek student.
The government made mention of that of teachers and nurses. Immediately we heard that, we came to this ministry to find out that our allowances has also been cancelled. But we heard in the budget that teachers and nurses are going to be paid. So why agriculture colleges? And then Honorable Dr. Sagri Bambaji, Deputy Minister in charge of annual crops, told us that once the government says he's going to restore teachers and nurses, we can never be left out. So we were holding on to that promise, and later September, we got to know that it was just a deceptive they are feeding us with.
The students affirmed the cancellation of the allowances is affecting them.
So what government do that we are really suffering? If people attention has been given to nurses and then to teachers, we want it to also bring that same attention, because we agricultural students of Ghana are not being acknowledged. It's high time government also bases its focus on us.
As at 10:40, when the news team was leaving the scene, none of the ministers and the directors of the ministry were present to address the students.
Let's now turn to the northern region, as there is tension in Bimbila in the region, as the Bumayili family has vowed to resist the burial of the mortal remains of late Nakpana Salifu Dawumi in Bimbila. This follows a decision by government to prepare grounds for the late Nakpana.
The Northern Regional Coordinating Council, in a letter dated 10th October 2017, requested that the Yendi Hospital releases the mortal remains of the Nakpana Salifu Dauni to the family under security protection for burial. The RCC was also ready to foot the bills for any outstanding payment, requesting for the cost to be sent to its office for the release of funds. But the Bumaili family insist the decision by government to bury the late Nakpana is against customs and traditions. At a press briefing in Accra, the spokesperson for the Bumaili family, Tahidu Usman Keka, said it is a deliberate attempt by the Akufo-Addo-led administration to create anarchy in Bimbilla.
As far as we know, the palace is not consulted in any way. The palace is not involved in the decision. And this thing has come as a shock to everybody, including even the National Peace Council that has been pivotal in this Bimbilla issue.
Tahidu Usman Keka said they will resist any attempt by the Regional Security Council to bury Nakpana in the Bumaili graveyard.
We are communicating this message to you that the people of Nakpana will give Tabrigator on the left and turn right. Tomorrow they will come and tell Ghanaians that they didn't know Nakpana was Nakpana, he is Bimbilla now. And that is going to give a plan for Paral Authority in Nanung. And I am not going to tell you that if there's Paral Authority in any other part of Ghana, even in the outside world, you don't get peace there.
They want government to adopt a broader consultative approach by involving the kingmakers as well as the National Peace Council.
The burial must be stopped immediately. They should go into consultation with the people who matter. Peace Council must be involved. The entire Bumaili must be involved. The kingmakers must be involved. That is to say that a very befitting burial will be granted for Nakpana and the place will remain very peaceful forever.
Meanwhile, the body of the late Nakpana Salifu Dauni has been buried in Bimbilla ahead of the scheduled Thursday, October 12th date due to security reasons. The mortal remains arrived in Bimbilla amidst heavy tension and security. It was airlifted from the Yendi Municipal Hospital morgue under heavy security to Bimbilla, where it is expected to be taken through some customary rites by the Nakpa family before burial, which was earlier slated for tomorrow, October 12, 2017. The Nanumba North District Abdullah Yakubu will receive the body for onward handing over to the family of the late Nakpa Chief Salifu Dauni, District Chief Executive of the area. So doing a lot more updates on this and subsequent bulletins, but the Exton Cubic Group has sued the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources over the ministry's revocation of their mining permits. Exton Cubic, in an application for a review of the decision of the High Court, argued that the minister's decision was unreasonable, unjust, and an abuse of his powers. The company is seeking, among others, a declaration that the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources acted beyond his statutory powers when he revoked Exton Cubic Group Limited's mining license and leases. It also contends that revoking of its license was a breach of the rules of natural justice and in breach of the company's rights to administrative justice and property. Exton Cubic is further seeking an order questioning the minister's decision to revoke the mining leases and an order of injunction restricting the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources or his agents from interfering with Exton Cubic's rights acquired. The Lands and Natural Resources Minister, John Peter Mewu, revoked the company's leases and licenses to prospect in the Nyenyene bauxite concession of the Tano Ofin Forest Reserve, describing the company's operations there as illegal because of the invalid mining leases.
Let's turn attention to other stories this evening, as Ghana and Benin have resolved to reignite the common currency agenda of ECOWAS to promote regional integration. President Akufo-Addo and his Benin counterpart, President Patrice Talon, reached this conclusion when they held bilateral talks at the Flagstaff House.
President Patrice Talon was in the country for a day's state visit. The visit was also to strengthen ties in the areas of trade, agriculture and security. President Patrice Talon said the economic integration of ECOWAS is long overdue and that he is ready to partner with President Akufo-Addo and all other West African leaders to make the ECOWAS integration a reality.
Nous allons œuvrer à ce que nous-mêmes, nos collaborateurs, nos hommes d'affaires.
Addressing the press later, President Akufo-Addo called for a concerted effort to restore the Ghana-Benin Permanent Joint Commission.
Of all the countries in the region and perhaps on the continent, in the last 25, 30 years, it's our two countries that have spearheaded the democratic engagement on the continent. So his presence here has given me the opportunity to have a general view, exchange of views about where we are and the decisions that we need to take to advance not just our own bilateral relations, but perhaps more significantly, the relations of our common neighborhood of ECOWAS.
The two West African leaders later at a lunch meeting recognized the need to be at the forefront of ensuring effective regional integration.
Our shared interests as members of the Prosperity Alliance Zone, COPAS, together with Togo and Nigeria, enjoins us to ensure that we forge an even closer partnership that will inure to the benefit of our citizens, even within the context of ECOWAS. And we need to revitalize the alliance. Ghana will continue to cooperate with Benin within other multilateral frameworks, such as the Volta Basin Authority, to promote and safeguard the equitable sharing of common water resources of the authority.
President Patrice Talon has since left Ghana for Benin.
Well, it evokes and eulogizes the history, traditions and struggles of its people. As a result, a lot of respect is paid to it any time it is played or sung. But regrettably, national anthems in recent times across the world are losing the essence of it. Evelyn Tengma has been finding out reasons for the waning reverence to national anthems across the world.
Played at schools, sporting events and state functions. When anthems are played, citizens are expected to stand at attention to show respect for their governments, ancestors, heroes, the constitution and laws, and the nation as a whole. Athletes, the military, citizens and performers all have slightly different protocols. Those who have hats and sunglasses on are to remove them when the anthem is being played. Talking, eating, drinking and chewing are all to cease during the anthem. Singing along is, however, optional. But in the Ghanaian school system, singing the national anthem and reciting the pledge is religious and is done every weekday at school assembly. In the past, any time the national anthem is played, you find each and every one, no matter the location, stands to observe as a respect to the nation. But that lately is changing, and we ask, what actually is a problem?
When you see that your country is not behaving well and, being affected by corruption, humiliation and other things, when they start all these national anthem of a thing, you just ignore them and do your things. Because you pledging with them, that means you are still in support of what they are doing. You can chew chewing gum, chop biscuits, or even, you understand, so many things.
Well, some still believe reverence must be shown to a nation's anthem.
Before the national anthem played, there must be order. Everybody should stand and obey your national anthem because there is a respect to a country that have a national anthem.
If the national anthem is being sung, whatever you are doing, you're supposed to stop it. It's just a form of honor to maybe our forefathers.
Sometimes I stand, sometimes I'll just walk away.
Why do you sometimes walk away?
It depends on where I am. Because when you're in a crowd, let's say a circle for instance, you can't stand when everybody is walking away. Maybe someone might think you are not normal or something.
Recently, U.S. President Donald Trump called for athletes who do not show respect to the U.S. anthem to be fired.
When somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of a bitch off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
Donald Trump's pronouncement followed protests by several NFL players over racism. The players have resorted to kneeling instead of standing when the national anthem is played before games. That is just for the Americas. Here in Ghana, former diplomat KB Asante is worried nationalism and patriotism among Ghanaians are gradually waning. He believes respect for the nation's anthem is also respect for oneself.
At school, we learned to stand up to attention when the national anthem was being played. It is a respect which in fact you give to yourself and to your nation. If you are on a phone, stop it. These days we seem to take this phone everywhere, and it shouldn't be so.
The former diplomat said freedom of speech and the accusation of political leaders as being corrupt cannot be a reason for disrespecting one's anthem.
We cannot wash our hands and say our leaders are corrupt. We are partly responsible, and we should see to it that they are not corrupt.
But some will also argue that people who come up with some of these things, they have their freedom of speech.
You don't have the freedom to talk nonsense. You have freedom of speech, yes, but when you talk for others to listen.
Well, a national anthem remains a valued culture, and no level of disrespect would be tolerated by any nation. Evelyn Tankma, TV3 News, Accra.
A probing report there, an interesting perspective.
Absolutely, but you see, the anthem is a prayer. God bless our homeland, Ghana. So whatever the case might be, I'm sure you want to pray that prayer onto Ghana. But we'll be back shortly while you say the anthem with some more stories. To stay with us here on News 360.
Time to look at what's trending in the world of business. Good evening, and thanks for staying with us on News 360. My name is Nanekia Mensah Brampa. The Minister of Trade and Industry, Alan Tremantin, says the Ghana Trade Fair Company will undergo a major redevelopment exercise within the next 3 years. And he said government has initiated discussions with different stakeholders, both local and international, to develop the facility into a world-class site.
The Ghana Trade Fair Center, which used to be a center of attraction and convergence for trading activities for both local and international fairs, is now a pale shadow of itself. The center, built over 4 decades ago as a magnificent edifice meant to host major local and international fairs, is now in ruins, a situation which makes it unattractive and unsafe to host any major fair or exhibition. The famous round pavilion, which used to attract many visitors during trade fairs, is in a bad shape. The roof of the pavilion has been ripped off. Other facilities at the center have been overtaken by weed and are in poor condition. Inaugurating the board of directors for the Trade Fair Company, the Minister of Trade and Industry, Alan Tremantin, said government has initiated discussion with different stakeholders for the redevelopment of the facility.
This facility, as it stands now, is going to go through a major redevelopment exercise into a world-class facility that would incorporate a national convention center, a series of top-class hotels, entertainment sites, the kind of variety that will start putting Ghana on the world map in terms of conventions, conferences, and then entertainment.
The chairman of the board, Daniel Macaulay, said the board will work hard to realize the vision of the ministry for the facility.
Within 3-4 years, you see the whole edifice coming up like a rocket. To tell you the truth, trade fair lying there is bigger than the Dubai Mall, bigger than the Dubai Convention Center, and we have to transform it. And we have to transform it real quick. This is going to provide a lot of jobs to the environment.
Inflation rate for September was 12.2%, down by 0.1% from the 12.3% recorded in August. Deputy Government Statistician Anthony Amuzu attributed the decrease to a fall in prices of major food items, especially those produced locally. The Consumer Price Index, or Consumer Inflation Rate, measures the change over time in the general price level of goods and services that households acquire for the purpose of consumption. Inflation for September was 12.2%. This means the rate of inflation was down by 0.1 from 12.3% recorded in August. Deputy Government Statistician Anthony Amuzu explained the fall in the inflationary rate could be attributed to a decline in the price of locally produced foodstuff.
In August, where I think 4 or 5 subgroups that recorded rates that were higher than the group's rate. But this time around, we have only one, which is the fish and seafood, indicating that for the others, the rate has dropped. Harvesting season. See, there is a lot of fresh yam on the market. There is tomato on the market and other items. So that is possible cause.
Food and non-alcoholic beverages group recorded a year-on-year inflation rate of 8.1%, with some of the main prices being on fish and seafood, vegetables, oil and fats, meat and meat products. Non-food group recorded a year-on-year inflation rate of 14.1%, with main drivers coming from items such as transport, recreation and culture, clothing and footwear. Imported goods were 1.9 percentage points higher than locally produced. This is attributed to cost of shipping, import duties and other charges, as well as profit margins.
The exchange rate regime and then where the goods are coming from, transportation of the freight and all that. So those are possible causes for the rate for imported items to be always higher than that of the locally produced items.
The 0.1% decrease in consumer inflation suggests prices of consumer goods and services were fairly stable in September this year. Well, interestingly, the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, I'm talking about ISE, they are saying that achieving a single-digit inflation target at the end of the year will be a difficult task for government. Well, Senior Research Fellow at ISE, Dr. Charles Aka, added, should government achieve its target, it will have repercussions on unemployment in the country.
We should be more broad-based to support more of industrialization, support more of production, and at the same time make sure that the cost of doing business is low. And if it's low, the inflation will be coming down. So we are calling for a balance. Otherwise, you can drive activity to zero. Because, I mean, if you have an economy where there's, or inflation is 1%, it means that people can really not be profitable in business. What I think is worrying is the predictability of the price changes. So we don't want to see prices rising very quick, but we also don't want to see like exchange rate. Today is $2 to 1 CD to $2. The next time is 4, then it comes down. Those are the things that businesses need, some kind of stability and predictability.
Well, let's look at some more business updates this evening. And the Chief Executive Officer of Avnash Rice Processing Factory in the Tolon district of the Northern Region, Jai Michandani, has revealed plans by the company to establish soap manufacturing, oil refinery and rice milling factories to promote development in that region. He was speaking at a Deba recently.
The company's rice mill at Tamale in the Northern Region mills 500 metric tons of rice daily. 32,000 farmers, 200,000 transporters, aggregators, mechanized service suppliers are currently benefiting from the company. At Adeba, as part of the president's visit to the region, CEO Jai Michandani lauded government for bringing interest rates down and sustaining Ghana's economy.
If the cost of capital comes down, if the government, as it is taking a very proactive force in terms of trying to build the industrial sector, I believe we will be home in no time.
Again, Jai Michandani debunked assertions that Avnash deals in selected grains of paddy rice.
What we have done actively in that gap year between last year and this year is to engage with the farmers, engage with the communities to make sure that they grow the right grain, harvest as best as they can at the right time.
President Akufo-Addo urged farmers in the region to increase the acreage of their farms to feed the company.
You have a ready market for your product. All the farmers here to increase and double up your productivity and double up your work.
He underscored the need to maintain peace in Dagbon.
Then on my part, I will do whatever I can with a clean and open heart to make sure that once again we have harmony and unity in Dagbon. The peace and stability of Ghana are crucial if we are to go ahead. We should none of us do anything to jeopardize it.
The Agricultural Minister, Osei Akoto, revealed Ghana in 2015 alone spent $1.1 billion, about half of the cocoa proceeds in that year, on importation of rice.
Right, so you can visit 3news.com for more business news updates, but that'll do for tonight. My name is Natalie Fort. Alfred is standing by with the latest in the weather.
Thank you.
Good evening and welcome back to News 360 here on TV3. My name is Anako Jafre with the sports update, and there's no better place to begin tonight than the 2018 FIFA World Cup qualifiers. The biggest story from the World Cup qualifiers on Tuesday night was an inspired hat-trick from Argentina's number 10, Lionel Messi, on the 10th day of the month to send Argentina to Russia 2018. His hat-trick last night took his total number of hat-tricks to 5 for Argentina and overall to 44 hat-tricks in all football competition. Messi also finished top scorer in the history of South American qualifiers with 20 goals. Now let's confirm for you those 23 teams that are through to Russia 2018. And as you can see on your screen, Egypt from Ghana's group, they are in Russia. Iran is there, Korea Republic, Serbia, Belgium, the first team to qualify to Russia 2018. And then again you have Nigeria. They were the first from the African continent to book their tickets to Russia 2018. And you can see in there Japan, Saudi Arabia, Spain. The 2010 champions are in there. So is England, also hoping that they can do very well in Russia. Then there is France in there. You remember Iceland from Euro 2016. They showed everybody what they are made of. They are through to Russia 2018. Portugal will be in there. They had to wait until the last day of qualifiers to book their place after beating Switzerland by 2-0. Cristiano Ronaldo will be in there. Mexico, Germany, the defending champions, will be in there as well. Poland, Costa Rica, and then Panama too as well. This is the completion of the list. Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, and Uruguay. They make the 23 teams that are through to Russia 2018. So we now know the 23 teams of the 32 teams who will play in Russia next summer. There are 9 more places up for grabs, 3 places to be decided from Africa, and 6 playoffs places at the World Cup in Russia. The 8 teams who will play each other from Europe for places at the World Cup are Switzerland, Denmark, Northern Ireland, Sweden, Italy. You remember them, the 2006 winners of the World Cup will have to go through the playoffs. Croatia, Republic of Ireland, and then there is Greece. That is not all to say, but let's go on and show you other fixtures for games coming up. There is Peru, who surprisingly have made it. They'll be taking on New Zealand. Peru from South America, they beat Chile to that playoff spot. They take on New Zealand from Oceania. And then there is Honduras, who will be from the CONCACAF region. They also beat USA to that last spot playoff, and they will take on Australia. So a whole lot to look forward to as far as the FIFA 2018 World Cup qualifiers is concerned. But on the back of the qualifiers from what happened in Africa, South Africa referee Daniel Bennett will not be officiating in the CAF Champions League semi-final between Al Ahly and Etoile du Sahel after his decision to disallow a clear goal scored by the Black Stars in the 2018 World Cup qualifier between Uganda and Ghana in Kampala. CAF first appointed South African referee Daniel Bennett to officiate the game before replacing him with compatriot Victor Gomez due to Bennett's poor refereeing performance during Uganda's clash with Ghana in the World Cup qualifiers. And I will take you to the Under-17 FIFA World Cup now. And 4 games took place earlier today in the Under-17 FIFA World Cup in India. France and England all secured wins to progress to the round of 16. But before we bring you the results slide of that games, we build up to the game between Ghana and India because the Black Starlets will need a win against host nation India to qualify for the round of 16 in the ongoing FIFA Under-17 World Cup. 1991 Starlets Golden Boot winner Neodate Lamte has no doubt the lads can win the game and go on to achieve something remarkable in the tournament.
First game, and then we lost against US. I think the most important thing is make sure we win our last game against India. I know a lot of people were saying that, I mean, this team is like, you know, they were comparing them with our time. But my answer is, I mean, let's wait and see. If they are able to bring the trophy back to Ghana, then we can do that. But not taking anything away from the boys. They are very good. I mean, they have some good players inside. Tuku, Aya, and even Mohamed and Ibrahim. You know, it's a very good team that I'm sure one will keep eye on them in future. You know, that our 20 under 23 and the senior national team will be very good.
And our confirmation for you for all the results from the games played at the Under-17 World Cup earlier today. France beat Japan to qualify to the round of 16. Honduras also beat Catalonia by 5-0. England also qualified for the round of 16 after beating Mexico by 3-2. And Iraq also beating Chile by 3-0. And that's how we wrap up sports here on News 360. My name is Nana Kodrafe. Thanks very much for watching. Good evening and always a pleasure serving you.
And welcome back to News 360. And some international news this evening. Liberia's provisional election results are expected Thursday. The Election Commission says Wednesday as the West African nation waits to see who will succeed the Nobel Peace Prize winner who led the country's recovery from Ebola and civil war. A runoff election was widely expected with 20 candidates vying to replace Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, who's Africa's first female president. The National Election Commission said local vote counting had ended after a largely smooth election. It apologized for delays in some areas and said it had quarantined materials from one precinct and will investigate reports of alleged compromised voting. But even in as much as provisional results are expected tomorrow, our team, our correspondents in Liberia, have provided us, Alfred, with some information of what's happening with regards to the voting so far. And I'm going to run us by that. There are 20 candidates in total, but the top 3 is what you can see on your screen now. Joseph Boakye has 43,529 votes, which amounts to 38.58%, and he is with the United Party, so he's currently in the lead. And as we know a little bit about him, he served as former vice president serving under President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, and he has touted agriculture, road interconnectivity, rebuilding the economy as his top priorities. And following him is George Weah, who's with the Congress for Democratic Change with 39,725 votes, which amount to 35.21%. George Weah has also gone on. He has in fact been described as not having very clear policies or not being able to properly communicate his policies to the Liberian people. Many have blamed it also on his lack of a formal education, but he says otherwise. He has, although, touched on the economy as well and empowering the youth of Liberia. And following him is Charles Bromskine, who was with the Liberty Party and has 10,057 votes, amounting to 8.91%. And so he's last within this category of just 3 persons. Charles Bromskine has gone on to tout issues of what he describes as the 4 R's, talking about reconciliation, reform, rebuilding, and recovery in Liberia, given that it's a country that has recovered, is still recovering, in fact, from a 14-year-long civil war, Alfred. So that's just what the situation is there currently from our team on the ground. That's good to know. And we must reiterate also that this, as it appears, is provisional results we're getting. But away from Liberia, Kenya's High Court has ruled that all candidates who participated in the 8th August presidential election can now stand in the rerun later this month. This comes a day after the main opposition candidate, Raila Odinga, announced that he was pulling out. Now, we want to go on to the telephone now. Our resident correspondent in Kenya, specifically in Nairobi, Emmanuel Yegon, is joining us on telephone. Yegon, good evening to you. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, the Independent Electoral Boundary Commission is saying that they haven't officially received the Form 24A from Raila Odinga to get him out of the list. Is that the case?
Yes, that is the case. They have said it is a mandatory form for those who want to completely withdraw from the race. And apparently they just submitted the letter that they want to withdraw, but they did not submit that form. And until they have submitted that form, they are still on the race.
I see, but what has the reaction been from NASA itself with this Electoral Commission's response?
Well, they haven't responded in any way at the moment because right from yesterday when they announced that they were withdrawing from the race, they have continued to say that they need reforms for the elections to take place, and that is even the reason why there have been continued demonstrations in various parts of the country.
Right. Mr. Egon, thank you very much for your time this evening. Grateful. We'll be back shortly with some more after this quick one. Do stay with us. Welcome back to News 360. Some entertainment news this evening. Evergreen songstress Akosia Ajipong is facing a court suit for conspiring with another person and defrauding a businessman of 105,000 Ghana cedis in a land deal. According to the prosecution, the singer and a man identified as Frank Ajimine sold a land which apparently did not belong to them. The two have been charged with conspiracy to commit crime and fraudulent transaction of land. At a hearing on Tuesday, October 10, Frank Ajimine pleaded not guilty to the charges and was granted bail at the sum of 160,000 cedis with 3 sureties. One to be justified. Akosia Ajipong was however not present in court. The case presided over by Mrs. Cecilia Dapa Mreku will be heard on October 24, 2017. So Ghanaian music diva Becca is set to rock the National Theatre on Saturday, October 21, 2017, as she marks a decade of doing music, lined up to grace the occasion as some of the continent's top music stars. Celebrated Nigerian musician M.I., Mr. Easy and Ice Prince joined top Ghanaian performers Kwabena Stoneboy, Manifest, Trigmatic, VVIP, Miss V and Kitty, amongst others. Well, that's it for the news. Thank you for staying with us here on News 360. On behalf of the rest of the team, we're grateful. My name is Alfred Ocansey. And I'm Natalie Fort. We've got more news on our website, 3news.com. News at 10 later tonight. We'll simulcast on 3FM 92.7. Next is Tashan. Have a wonderful evening.
La